Really?
All right, let's get started.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand? We're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. We'll start the meeting, and then all of us will learn how to vote.
Thank you for the honor. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone here. Nice crowd again. We're getting good. I'm looking around to see if we have any guests here. I saw Rabbi Sewell. Just a minute. Let him get the mic back there. We have some guests here. Go ahead back there, and we'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll have Barney make some announcements and stuff, and then we'll learn how to vote.
Hi, I'm Sue Ellen Weiner. I'm Zone 11 co-leader with Linda Rosenthal.
Thank you. And introduce your husband, please. Where's the rabbi? Rabbi?
Mark Weiner. Sue Ellen and I together chair Legacy Blue, which is the way we raise money for the Democratic Party of Palm Beach County. And if you're interested, go to your precinct leaders, they'll give you information. Secondly, I am president of the Florida Democratic Party Caucus of American Jews, otherwise known as the Jewish Caucus for the state party, and also of the Palm Beach County Democratic Party faith-based caucus, which brings together all the different religious groups in the county. So it's really a delight to be here. I'm actually here as her chauffeur and plus one.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I really know how to drive.
Okay. Thank you. Chris, this is Chris from Senator Rader's office. He has some stuff up here in case of a hurricane. He volunteered to come here. He called me about a month ago, and Senator Rader asked him if he would volunteer. And there's great packages. Stop up later and get one. Dana, want to introduce yourself? You can yell from there.
Yes, I yell. Hi, I'm Dana Haberman.
Yeah, that's C. That's the women's group. I guess just about everybody here.
Okay, just drop your name.
Okay, we'll introduce our guests later on. Let me see Charles, the president. Okay, I guess that's it. What I'd like to say is, thanks for coming again. We have all the volunteers here, everyone signing people in, and Bonnie and Carol and everyone. And Fred Hadley's here to make sure we get on Facebook. Sometimes I wonder if that's good or bad, but it's okay. All right, Bonnie, it's all yours.
All right. Welcome, Democrats and friends and guests. Yay! Who's new? Whose first time is this? All right, welcome. We hope you come back again. Let's see. Hope you got a chance to visit with the Supervisor of Elections office, check out the equipment. Hopefully they'll hang around a little while after the meeting. So if you missed it or have questions based on the presentation. Also remember, we have voter registration available here, either at the information desk or straight from the source. We have vote by mail for you all. You can change your addresses, you can change your party affiliations, which only applies in certain cases. All right, I'll make a note next time. And we may want to encourage signature refreshes if your signature has changed substantially. A lot of you vote by mail. You want to make sure those signatures look like they did whenever you first signed up.
Bonnie?
Yeah.
I have a question. I was talking with somebody called me because I checked that I wanted to work on the campaign. Oh, thank you. And I don't know if she's here now, but she said that I first have to go to a learn how to register class.
Right, and I'll get you information on that.
Great.
It's on our note. You can take a look. Who gets our emails? Who gets our emails? If you think you should get them and you don't get them, check your junk mail, that's where they might go. But it's on that email where you can register, take a class to register voters, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, thank you.
Is it better to register in person than by mail?
You mean to vote by person or by mail? I think you can ask that question, will be better answered by these guys when we get there. Okay, welcome night owls. All right, those of you who had other obligations Sunday morning, I really appreciate that. Our meetings are going to be in the evening from here on out. Welcome returning snowbirds, welcome Robert Goodman. And again, thank you to all our volunteers. You have on your tables a blue sheet of paper, I think it's blue. It's a call to action on prescription drugs. Call those people. This is about lowering the cost of prescription drugs. We have some more. If you don't have enough, there's some more at the table. You want to call these guys, let them know how you feel about it, because I can bet there's nobody in this room that wants high drug prices. Right?
Right.
So make the calls. Make the calls. It's up to you. What else do we have? 2020 open enrollment for Medicare. I think you all know that started October 15th, ends December 7th. You can go to the health fair is the 21st, and you can register for Medicare programs. The census is coming April 1st. You'll be hearing more about that till you're tired of hearing about that. Next month, you'll be seeing a little new sign-in procedure for the club meetings. I just wanted to give you a heads up. We'll talk more about that later. The RSVPs are getting better. There are 50 people in this room, just so you know. But that was better than last time. So the RSVPs are helpful. We'll always let you in, but it's good to know the numbers. So, and before the SOE's office does their presentation, before Mike introduces everybody, I just want to take a moment of privilege here to thank the SOE office. These guys provide a level of service that I am not accustomed to in this day and age. I have never called this office and not gotten what I needed resolved. So call them, they know. Now I have to have a special thanks to Lourdes at the South County office, because she puts up with me more than the rest of them. And it's really a pleasure working with you, and I just wanted to tell you that.
Okay, we had the former supervisor of elections, Susan Buca, was not only a friend of this club, but a friend of mine and Bonnie's, and I thought she was an excellent supervisor of elections. And when I found out that she was no longer going to be there, and we had a Republican governor who was going to appoint someone to take her place, I said to Bonnie and Stanley Siegel, we got a problem. Because this new person is not going to talk to us, and it's going to be like the old days. But I was wrong. I really was wrong. The new one, Wendy Link, not only contacted the club, but she's been in touch with Bonnie and the other presidents, and she's been doing a great job. And the proof of it is, we called her, we thought that with the new machines and everything, that we should have her here. She's very busy, it's election time, she's new. She said she'd come, she brought her staff with her, and I appreciate her coming, and I look forward to working with her as I did with Susan Buca. Wendy, would you come up, please?
Thank you. Thanks so much for having us here. I know that your time is precious. You all have a lot going on, and so it is our privilege and our honor to be here to speak with you tonight. We have some exciting things to share with you. I'm going to start with introducing the team that we've got. As was mentioned earlier, and I appreciate that, our office is fantastic. We have a group of people, when you walk in and you start in our office, the first thing we say is what our office stands for is integrity, accountability, and service. And so I think the people you'll meet in our office, if you give us the opportunity to work with you, this is what you're going to find. And so we've got 3 people here who are fantastic. We have Theron Todd, who's actually the newest of the 3. Theron is working both on our main floor and helping with processing applications and things, but is also working with our voting equipment and is going to be doing a lot in our vote by mail department. Then we have Allison Navoa. Allison is our Public Information Officer and also the Director of Strategic Initiatives. Basically, if you're not sure who to ask for in the office, just ask for Allison, because she'll be here. She's probably touching it in some way or the other. And then last, but certainly not least, your very own Lourdes Stacy, who has for many years provided excellent service for you down here in South County. And I'm grateful. Lourdes is one who I said, what do I need to do in South County? How can we be helpful? How can our office be serving the people that you work with? And Lourdes is great and says, I'll tell you where you need to be. So this is where she said I needed to be, so I'm here, and I thank you to all of you for allowing us to be here. So we're just going to go through, but the plan right now would be is I'll kind of run through this, and we've tried to incorporate into the presentation we have as we get questions from other groups, and we say, okay, this is important to people. We've tried to include it in here. So I'll run through it, but if you have something that you feel like you need to ask right there or qualify or clarify it, if it's okay with your president, it's fine with me, or certainly will be available at the end. And as was mentioned, we've got our machines here. We would love for you to give them a try and see what's different about them. So we're going to go right into, as of October 24th, we have 964,899 active registered voters in Palm Beach County. So we're growing and growing. We will soon be 1 million people. One of the things that's been interesting is it stayed consistent. You see the numbers with Democratic, Republican, and NPA parties. It has very much been consistent since I've been here. 42% Democratic, 28% Republican, 30% NPA, and minor parties. Yes, ma'am.
I'm probably the only one in the room who doesn't know this, but what's NPA?
Okay, NPA is no party affiliation.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the minor parties would be the Green Party, the Independent Party, things like that. And it's kind of ironic to say that NPA is one of the fastest growing parties because it's actually not a party, but we'll call it a grouping. This is based on our November election, and it's going to stay pretty close to true. We have 871 precincts in our county. We have a big county. We have an awful lot of precincts. We have 463 election day voting sites, and that's because we will have oftentimes more than one precinct at a location, because we've got the time, we've got the space, and we can do that. Some of our precincts are 0 precincts because they were designed for an area that hasn't yet grown and people aren't living there. And then we take about 4,000 poll workers and support staff to put on each election. So that's a lot of folks. And part of the thing you'll hear from me tonight more than once is that I would really love it if you would consider being a poll worker. Poll workers are so important to us, and we'll go over it every day here, every opportunity I get. But we have 53 people in our office. You're not going to see most of those 53 people on election day. They're going to be doing their thing. They're going to be keeping everything running smoothly. Who you are going to see are the poll workers. You're going to see the folks who are out there who are going to be the ones who are going to give you confidence that this election is running smoothly, that things worked well, or not. And so we only have these poll workers for a day out of the year, and yet they're the face of our office. So we know how important you are, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but we got you a raise. So hopefully you'll think about coming in. So during the November election, this is the way, there's 3 ways to vote. You can vote by mail, you can do early voting, or election day voting. Somebody over here had asked how you should do it, and that's really a personal preference thing. I can tell you vote by mail and early voting are both on the upward trend. And that's not only in Palm Beach County, but across the state. They are both trending up. Vote by mail, as you see, had about 157,000 votes cast vote by mail last time. We expect that to increase this time. Early voting, of course, you've got lots of time to do it. One of the advantages is there are many days to do it. You can do it at any of our locations. You don't have to go to your precinct. So if you're at work and there's an early voting location close to you there, or you're visiting a friend, or you're just looking at it, and our website now will tell you where the lines are shortest. You can say, oh, there's one that's 10 minutes away or 20 minutes away, but the 10-minute away one has a 2-hour wait. I'll go to the other one. So there are different ways. Downside is, and it's funny, some people love this and some people don't. There are usually lines for early voting. And some people, though, it's a social thing. They like it, they enjoy it. It gives them an opportunity to get out there. And then election day voting. It is on the downward trend, but it is still by far the most popular way for people to vote on election day. I think, oh yes ma'am, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask you, we really encourage voting by mail here because people, because we have an older population, we thought voting by mail would be good.
Sure.
But, I don't know, I myself and some other people I know were a little disappointed in the fact that it seemed like a lot of them got kicked out for signatures, or we felt like they weren't valued as much as going to the polls. And this time I don't even know if I want to vote by mail, because I feel like it's, I don't know, more valuable going to the polls than sending it by mail.
Okay, really, thank you, it's good feedback. One of the things that I'll point out, we'll talk a little bit about this as we can kind of go through some of these slides, but you should know that the vote by mail ballots are the first ones counted. So when people, I've had a lot of people say to me, can you not, can you hear me?
No, I want to say something else.
Okay, no problem. So I've had people say, oh, I think they only count vote by mail if it's close. Or they only count vote by mail at the end. That's not true. As you are sending in your vote by mail applications, or voting ballots, and we receive them, we are canvassing them, we are sending them through the tabulator. We don't actually pull those results until the polls close on election night, but they are being run through. So when we close the polls at 7 and we go ahead and hit the button to pull our first results, what it's pulling in is early voting results and every vote by mail that we've received up until that day. Now the vote by mail ballots that we receive on election day may or may not be in that first tally because it depends on what time they came in. Because canvassing vote by mail can take some time, and so those might not be done until the end of the day. I will talk about signatures, if you don't mind, I can come back to that. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, as the Zone 11 leader, as a part of the Democratic DEC, we're encouraging, and we've been doing it for years, to vote by mail. As Wendy said, they are counted first. I think that all the media attention that you heard a couple of years ago was overdone. I don't think it was as bad as it was, because we had people going around getting people to re-sign. So we are encouraging you to vote by mail. 95% of people who get a mail ballot will vote it. Whereas if you're sick on the poll, if you day of the election, you will not get out. So just to reinforce that, we are encouraging vote by mail.
The Young Democrat Club has come to us as well, and we're working with them to do a video. So I know the Young Democrats are also pushing the vote by mail. And there's a couple things that I hate to tell the secrets early, because I like to save it, but we are doing postage paid this year. So we are able to get that through our budget. So one of the things that I know people would have said before why they didn't want to vote by mail, not necessarily that they weren't willing to spend the money for the stamp, but they just don't have them. I mean, people aren't putting stamps on as many things anymore. So then what happens, you get the vote by mail, you stick it in your purse, you stick it in your briefcase, you stick it in the side closet to wait until you can get your stamp, and then all of a sudden it's election day and you're saying, oh gee whiz, I didn't get out and get that stamp, and now you're kind of rushing to figure out what to do. So by having the postage paid, we're hoping that it's a huge convenience factor. It will also allow you to vote by mail and get it in quickly, because you do your vote, take the time that you need, and then you throw it right back in the mailbox. It's super easy. There's also a couple different ways you can cover that as well.
Out of curiosity, where does the money from the stamps come from?
Your taxpayer dollars. It was part of our budget that we put through to the county commission. So it was actually to give the county commission credit. As I was preparing our budget, I received phone calls from at least 4 of the county commissioners asking me if we would include that in our budget. So we knew it was something that was going to be requested when 4 out of the 7 county commissioners were interested in that.
A lot of money.
Okay. I'm afraid we might not even get through anything. So I might actually, let's do one more question and then we'll go a little bit farther. We'll move along because I think we might answer some of your questions. Who do you want me to answer? Okay.
Why don't we then do a presentation, then if you have any questions, raise your hand, and we can do it after, okay? Thank you.
So, all right, so looking ahead, we've got the new voting equipment, which we brought out to you. We want you to see. The new ballot design. The new ballot design is filling in the ovals, much like you did when you were in elementary school and taking the standardized tests. So we want you filling in the ovals, coloring them all the way in. Don't check them, don't put an X through them, don't circle them, fill them in. And the reason is, that's the way that we're going to best know what your choice was. Because you don't want us sitting as a canvassing board trying to determine what was your voter intent. The best way for us to know what your voter intent was is to vote your ballot. We can vote your ballot if you've been really nice and neat in the way you filled it out. We also see we brought some sample ballots. There's some areas that are grayed out at the top, and that's just the titles. And we're hoping that visually that might help, because we had a number of overvotes in the last election. And so where it says vote for one, we're hoping by having a gray and a gray, in between the things, it just visually says, okay, in this column, I'm only supposed to have one vote. It's a little bit of a hope, so we'll go with that. And so anyway, new ballot design, it does put us the same as everybody else in the state. The state it is actually required by law. This last legislative session, the state legislature came out and said everybody has to have a consistent way of voting, and it has to be with the ovals. So there's where we go. New voter registration system. It's called VR Systems. It is, I think you're going to find you really like it. It's a whole new way. It's updated. We were one of 3 counties in the past that didn't have this system. It was us, Orange County, and Sarasota. And we, with all of the things going on with cybersecurity issues and customer service issues and the different advantages that this new system had, we made the decision and worked with the county commission. They agreed that this was the time, even though it's a lot of work and a lot of changes in 1 year, which is a little scary, and it's been really tough on our staff. So again, kudos to the folks sitting over there. They're the ones who are having to learn everything new and implement all the new systems. This is the year that they're supposed to be able to catch their breath as they go into 2020, and they're not getting to do that. So, but they're doing it because they want to make sure that Palm Beach County is in the best position it can be, and so they're doing it for you. So thanks again to you guys for what you're doing. And our new website. I want Allison to stand up, because Allison has given her life to getting this website done. If you take a look at it, it's very user-friendly. It's much more intuitive, I think, than what we had before. There's a lot of great information. We are still tweaking it, so if you take a look at it and say, gee, you know what, I'm trying to find this, I can't find this, or I wish this was more readily accessible, call us. Ask for Allison, or just ask for whoever does the website if you don't remember her name. And we want to hear from you. We want that information so that we can keep improving it. I think you're going to find that there's a lot of great information. We can have things that are tied together. For example, on our website, you'll be able to go and look at what are the lines for early voting. Okay, we're going to be able to tell you that on the website. Another thing we'll be able to do is on election day, you'll be able to look in real time. I think they told us it's 15 seconds to get voter history. It takes about 2 minutes to hit our website. You'll know how many people have voted at each precinct in real time on election day. So it's a transparency thing. It's just for you all to have as much information as you can have. We'll take that down about 6:15 at night, that part of it, just so that we can convert over to be ready to start putting the results of the election out. So we encourage you to please take a look at our website. Things that we're doing, again, trying to emphasize, fill in the ballot, fill in the ovals on your ballot. Updating your signatures, it was mentioned a couple times tonight. We have those forms here, you can do it. It's just a renewal, it's an update of your voter registration. You're not actually doing a new voter registration. I've heard people say, well, the only way to update your signature is to do a new voter registration card. It's not, there's actually a box that says you're updating it. You fill that out. And really it helps, because if there's any question at all as to how you had signed it before, and you're just not certain, it's better safe than sorry. The other issue is if you've gone to the DMV and you've done motor voter, and while you're doing motor voter and you had you made some changes, and they've got a little box that you sign, you use your finger, and you go really fast. I don't know how many people realize it, but that has become your official voting signature.
Ooh.
So that's by state law. So every day, it's actually called a dump. Every day we get a dump from the DMV of everybody's updated signatures who had anything to do with motor voter. If you made any change at DMV, actually even if you didn't make a change at DMV at that point, but then you went on the website later and made a change for something that required a signature, they pulled it from the DMV. So we have a lot of people who, because it's on a little iPad thing or a little box and you're using your finger and you don't have a stylus, and they've done it very quickly after they've been in line for a long time, they're just not paying as much attention and they don't realize that that became their signature. So we're actually working, Allison's designing them right now. We're gonna have signs beside each one of them in every DMV site, and we wanna thank Ann Gannon, our tax collector, because she's worked with us very well to allow us to put a sign beside each of those boxes to say, hey, before you do this, think about it, this is going to be your official voter signature. So just to kind of give everybody a reminder, because way too many people aren't aware of that, including me before I took this job. So Florida's a closed primary state. I heard somebody say you can update your party affiliation, maybe, kind of, sort of. So you do want to do it if you're NPA and you want to vote in the presidential preference primary as a Democrat, you need to switch. A lot of places, a lot of other states will allow, if you're NPA, you would be able to choose which of the parties you want to vote in. That's not the case in Florida. In Florida, we're a closed primary state. You can only vote in a partisan race for the party to which you're registered. Now, we have nonpartisan races. We have issues on the ballot. Anybody can vote on those. So if your city is having a race, on the municipal races tend to be nonpartisan. Any of the issues on the ballot are going to be nonpartisan. Anybody can vote on those. But if you're a registered Republican, you're only going to be able to vote in the Republican primary. If you're a registered Democrat, you'll only be able to vote in the Democratic Party. If you're an NPA, you don't get to vote in either of those for the partisan races. So we're just trying to get the message out to people. We have a lot of people historically that show up, particularly in March, because they want to vote in the presidential preference primary. And they are NPA or they haven't checked and they didn't know what they had done and they really want to vote in this race, but they're not a registered Democrat. It's too late when you show up at the polls. Okay, so you need to do that 29 days before election to make that change. So we're trying to get that information out so people can be ready to vote. We are, because we've done this big conversion, we converted over 1 million active voter files and a couple million inactive voter files from one third-party system to another. Always room for error. When you're doing motor voter, there's a lot of room for error. We know that there are a lot of people who inadvertently made changes when they're at the DMV because we'll get a call from them and say, why did you send me this voter card? Why did you, I've been a registered Democrat my whole life and you just sent me a card that says I'm NPA. So we'll go look because we really don't just send those cards out. So we'll go look and say, well, you went to DMV and you made this change, and people don't realize they did it sometimes. So we're, again, in anticipation that this is a really important race, a really important election year. We want to make sure everybody who wants to vote can vote. So we're going to send you out probably into November, into December. We're going to send you a card that says, this is the information we currently have on file for you. Please be on the lookout for it, review it. It should have your name, it should have your address, it should have your party affiliation. It'll tell you which precinct you should be voting in. We're going to send that to you by the end of the year. Be on the lookout for that. If there is at that point anything that's wrong, whether it's just because you inadvertently made a change or if there's an error on our side, there's plenty of time for you to make those corrections before. So we're sending that out, letting everybody know that we're sending out so that, again, we can have the best roles we can have. Poll worker recruitment, I warned you, it's going to come up. We need poll workers. And we have information here about it. As I mentioned, we did get the increase in the sick pay this year. It hasn't been increased for about 10 years. So you can make, for working a day, and it is a long day, to be real honest, you have to be there at 6 in the morning. You don't get to leave until the last voter has left and you've closed down. So that's going to be after 7. could be 8, could be later. So you're looking at a 14-hour day, at least. And it's tiring. And you've also had to have training before that. We're going to pay you between $190 and $320 for that, depending upon which position. Well, per day, yes, but that also does include the training you had to do. So it's per election day, but you don't get to work on election unless you've also done the training. So it includes your training and your long day. But it's not about the money, right? It's about being out there and making sure that we're having secure, transparent elections. And what better way to do it than you're the ones actually working it, right? So you're going to be there, you're going to see, you're going to know what we're telling people to do, you're going to be the one telling people to do it and how to do it, and you're going to make sure that all of everything goes really smoothly. So we're really, really encouraging people do some really good civic work and help your fellow colleagues, all your citizens, to have a really good voting experience. So Allison's got the information over there, Theron's got the information, I know Lourdes keeps it in her office. We need poll workers. Here's our deadlines. March 17th, of course, is the presidential preference primary. You can register or change your party up through February 18th, and we will have early voting from March 7th through the 15th. August 18th is our primary. You can register or change your party through July 20th, and early voting August 3rd to August 16th. And then, of course, the general election is like last year, and you can register or change parties through October 5th, and early voting October 19th through November 1st. I've been asked in the past, is that different? Are those early voting days the same that we offered in the past? And they're exactly the same. So we haven't changed any of the early voting days. Whatever you had before, you've got now as well. New equipment. This is the DS200. This is the scanner and the tabulator. The way it works, you put in your paper ballot. There's always going to be a paper ballot in Florida. This machine is the tabulator as well. As it scans it, it is taking a digital image of your ballot. So, God forbid something actually happens to the paper ballot. It is a backup for us. We also have a digital image on the scanner. It does have a touch screen that's going to provide feedback to you. If you have accidentally voted for 2 people in a race, if you're only supposed to have 1, it will tell you, in this race, you voted for 2. You're only allowed to vote for 1. Do you want your ballot back? You say yes. Give me my ballot. I want to redo it. If you do that, you can vote up to 3 times. 3 opportunities. 1 time to vote once. 3 opportunities to get it right. So you can give your ballot back. We'll spoil that ballot. Give you a new one. You can vote again. If, however, you decide, you know what, I didn't really care about that race anyway. I don't care if my vote counts on that one. You can say, accept it anyway. Your ballot will count except for that race. So it's only going to be the races that you overvoted that get kicked out. The rest of them will count. It will also tell you if for some reason, and we have people that do this, if for some reason you decided that you wanted to just put your ballot in, you just wanted voting history, you really don't care about any of these people, and you're submitting a blank ballot. It'll say, hey, you didn't vote for anybody, and you say, that's okay, and it'll accept it. And we have people that do that every year. So, don't know why, but they do. And it will let you do it, but it will tell you, hey, you made a mistake perhaps. It will, at the end of the night, it prints out a voter log that will tell you how many people voted there, and it does do the tabulation. We print 2 of those. One of them gets posted on the precinct door so that anybody who wants to see it can come see it. If the other one goes in the bag back to us, and we use that to compare that against the tally that we will receive through the direct secure vote-on. So after that paper has been printed, then we connect onto a secure line through a secure vote-on, and we will send those votes directly to the tabulator. So it takes out one step. We used to have to take them from here to a drop site. The drop site would then send it into the tabulator. Here they go directly from the precinct. So the idea there is it takes away one step, one potential place of error. It also will help speed up the results. And then, as I mentioned, as you're putting it through, it is catching a digital image. The express vote is, I think, really cool. It actually has, sometimes I showed somebody over here, you can zoom in, make it a little bit larger. It can also has a braille pad. You can listen to somebody read you things and tell you how to do it in both English, Spanish, and Creole. And so it's a very good, it is our ADA equipped way. It is actually available to anybody who wants to use it. So you don't have to say, I'm physically handicapped, I'm unable to use the other voting equipment. You could just say, I want to vote on that, and somebody will allow you to do that. So it's open to anybody to use. It is touchscreen, but what it does do is as you're touchscreen and you're doing it, it will show you at the end, this is how you voted, is this what you want? If you don't, you just hit that same box, it'll take you back to the race, you vote again. It will then spit out a paper ballot. The paper ballot will also show how you voted. You then check that. Once you're satisfied that that's correct, then you take that paper ballot and you send it back over to the same tabulator that everybody else is using. Scan it through there. It will take a digital image and it will count your vote. So that's the way those are working. High-speed tabulators, these are the ones that got the most press on the news because the other ones were not working as well. These are fast. We have 10 of them. They'll do 300 double-sided ballots per minute that they'll tabulate. That's what we're using to tabulate during the regular, not a recount. This is what we're doing our vote by mail ballots on. And if there's been any reason that anything's had to be duplicated, if it was a torn ballot or something, and we're fixing it at the warehouse, it will go through that the 850. But that's what you see. In a recount situation, it's going to be recounting everything. They are fast. They can do more than one race at a time, and that was an issue we had before. It'll also let you do write-ins. It does some different scans. So we've got some really good information. That also will take a digital picture of your ballot as it runs through. So we're trying to just have a lot of redundancies in case there are ever any issues that we can show you what the votes were. Our new voter registration system that I mentioned, it is how we're registering. It's how we do everything in our office. The mail ballot requests, for those of you who want to do vote by mail ballots, is run through that system. We do have request forms here, I think it was mentioned, so you can do your vote by mail request here. You can also do it online if you'd like. Precinct lookups, you're not sure where you should be voting, you go right onto our website. It'll pull you into that voter registration system. You put in your name, your address, it'll tell you where you need to go. It will also give you directions for how to get there. Poll worker management, if you are a poll worker, everything's going to be done through this system. It'll tell you where you need to go to have your training, whether or not you've completed all your classes, where you're going to be assigned to vote or to work. Candidate requests, this is also, of course, where all of our campaign finance and everything is handled through this. Our new website, state-of-the-art election night reporting. As I said, it will go directly from the scanners, directly into our tabulation center, which is hooked up to our website. So as soon as we receive them through the tab center, it will be immediately uploaded into the website. So you'll be able to be checking the website very quickly. It will, as I mentioned, during early voting, it will tell you what the waiting times are, because we will be looking at those consistently. And it also, as I mentioned, does tell you what the voter turnout is. Did I mention we're looking for poll workers? So, again, we have poll workers and staff that we need 4,000 early voting and on election day. And we do have a new adopted precinct. For those of you who might be involved in charities or your temple or a school that you're a volunteer or someplace, we have a new program called Adopted Precinct. As long as that group has not taken a position on anything on the ballot, so you haven't, as a group, not an individual, but as a group, if you have not endorsed a candidate or you have not taken a position on one of the issues, then you would be eligible to adopt a precinct. You get a group of your friends, we tell you what the requirements are. Obviously, it can't be everybody from one party. You may or may not need a Spanish speaker, depending upon which area it comes from. And we'll give you those. We then will do all the training, as we would for any other poll worker. But if it's a charity that maybe it's the high school band or it's your temple and you're trying to get, and we have a lot of sororities or fraternities, adult sororities and fraternities who are trying to do service clubs, trying to get service hours. They will come, they'll say, I would like to do the service hours, and they sign a form saying my pay is going to go to the charity that I'm here representing. So at the end of that day, we pay the charity that recruited you. And so the charity gets some money. They have the opportunity, if they are adopting that precinct, they can put their signs up, they can put information out, they can wear their shirts. We have a lot of groups that just want to show that they're connected to the community and that they want to do this. So it's just our way of trying to get more people involved and more people to understand what we're doing. And it allows, they can make a couple $1,000s for the day by doing that. Wrapping up, a few changes things that are big changes that you're going to notice. The no solicitation zone, especially for those of you who are representing a party or representing a candidate or an issue. A lot of people have been to the same place every year. They know exactly where they're going to stand. This is why I like being under this tree, or I stand here. It will likely change because the rule is now 150 feet from the entrance and not 100 feet as it had been. So 150 extra feet is a lot of space. And for some places, that's going to put it in the middle of the road. And that means you have to go on the far side because you cannot be inside of that 150-foot realm. So just understand there are going to be some changes that way. Vote by mail. Another way that we can help with vote by mail for people who aren't comfortable dropping it in the mail. As I mentioned, we do have the postage prepaid, so that's going to be helpful to you. But if you want to, you can drop it by an early voting site. At every early voting site, we will have a manned vote by mail box. You don't have to stand in line at early voting, you just walk it right up, you put it into the early voting spot. You get your I voted sticker, and off you go. Signature for vote by mail and for provisional ballots. It used to be that if you didn't correct or cure your signature by election day, you were done. Now you have until 5 o'clock on 2 days after the election to make that cure. So good and bad, right? It gives you more opportunity to get in there and do it. If you've got a close race though, and say we have 100 ballots that still require signature cures, so we haven't opened them, we don't know how those people have voted, and you've got perhaps a race that's been decided by 30 votes, you don't really know which way to call that race because you don't know what's in those 100 ballots. So it's going to perhaps wreak a little bit of havoc, and people are going to say they don't know what's going on, and we may not know for 2 days after the race. That's of course across the state, that's a state law, and so that'll be the case for provisional ballots and for your vote by mail. Petitions, those of you who are paid petition gatherers, they have to be in by 30 days after they're signed. We are able to, if somebody is voting particularly under Amendment 4, we can make confidential and exempt from public inspection and copying requirements any information related to a voter registration applicant or a voter's prior felony conviction. So we can delete that, as well as information. We pre-register voters in high school, 16 and 17-year-olds. So if you're 16 or 17, we're not giving your information out to the public. And then, just some of the things that we do otherwise when we're not doing elections, we do list maintenance, petition certification. We're working with candidates all the time on getting their filing and requirements, and we're looking at polling locations. This year we had to do, the DOJ came out with new things, so we had to go to all 463 polling locations and make sure that they were ADA compliant, that they matched what the DOJ was requiring. So we did that this summer. So we're constantly staying busy, and hopefully we've answered a lot of your questions. If you have anything else, I'm happy to answer.
We were devastated. Yeah, we were very proud to vote to restore voting rights to felons who completed their sentences. And then we were devastated by the news that they were not being allowed to actually do it unless they paid a lot of money. Then we heard more news that somebody then said, well, actually, we're not really following through with that. Do you happen to know what the actual status is of that situation?
Good question.
I do. It's as clear as mud. So where we stand right now, there was a recent Friday night, this past Friday night, there was a ruling by a judge who said it is not constitutional to deny somebody the right to vote if they have completed the terms of their sentence with respect to their incarceration. If they are indigent and not able to pay for the court costs or restitution, it doesn't wipe it out. It just says they can't withhold your ability to vote as a result of it. So that only applies to those 17 or 19 people. 17 people, I think it was. So the ruling technically only applies to those 17 plaintiffs that brought it. Having said that, I think it gives people a lot of direction as to where the courts are likely to go here. The question that it left open was it did not rule that this is a poll tax. So it just left that question open. And so now the question is going to be, since it wasn't considered a poll tax, and it only said you can't deny somebody who is indigent and unable to pay the right to vote, now we're back to, so who's going to make the determination whether or not this person is able to pay? And so that's going to be luckily something that not our office doesn't make those decisions. We're waiting for the guidance from the state that'll come from the Division of Elections. And you all, I'm sure, with the legislature meeting again, if you were involved in it before, you'll be back up. You'll be sharing your thoughts, and we'll have that hopefully resolved before we get into the 2020 election. Yes, ma'am.
Am I correct that if you do a vote by mail, you can go online to make sure that your ballot has been accepted and that it is accurate for the signature?
Yes. Yes, you can do that online as well as you can call our office. So you can call the office and track it, or you can go online yourself.
Commissioner Lake, welcome to Century Village.
Thank you.
With regard to the website, I happen to be on it this afternoon, and my compliments to Allison. You did a terrific job. It has a much more modern and accessible look to it. One of the things that I think is new, but I can't say for sure because I can't see the old website, is that when you look at the list of declared candidates, you now see how much money they've raised. Is that a new feature, Alice? That is a new feature. Well, I commend that because it used to be that you had to go to a third-party website. Now, you're not showing the breakdown of contributions, are you? Just the total?
You can get to that.
You can get to that. That's a great improvement. Okay.
Everything that we're trying to do, to the extent that we're able to, it's all about transparency, right? And so that you all, the more transparent we are, the more confidence you have in the system, and that's what we're trying to do.
Sure. So, again, as I was going down the page of candidates, I got to Supervisor of Elections, and I see that there were 4 declared, 1 withdrew, and I looked 5 times. I couldn't find your name on the list. So I must conclude one of 3 things. Either you're waiting until the legal deadline, which I think is in June, or you're not interested in the job, or maybe there's a third possibility. Can you give us a little clue here in Century Village what your leaning is at this point in time?
I can tell you it's not because I'm not interested. I came into this position not knowing anything about it, not knowing what the office did, what opportunities there were based on new equipment, new changes in the law, new policies we might be able to implement, without really knowing what changes we thought we could work. I've got a fantastic team. I would love to stay in the job and to keep us moving in the right direction. So but right now, what I'm told is once you file, you're expected to be a really big candidate. If you don't go out right away, then you're not considered serious. As you saw, we've got a lot of changes that I've been working on, and I want to do my job. So I needed to make sure that we were out of position, that we had implemented and done what we needed to do, and that my attention was where it needed to be. So I think we're getting close to where I'll be able to spend a little time campaigning should I decide to file.
And just as a quick follow-up, hypothetically, if you do decide to run, under what party or no party would you run?
I will run as a Democrat.
Thank you very much.
Two statements. First of all, I was told that if a returning citizen registered to vote erroneously, Dave Ehrenberg will not prosecute, and neither will the state's attorney in Dade County.
I certainly am not going to speak for Mr. Ehrenberg, but I have heard that in other places across the state, so I wouldn't be surprised, but I have not actually spoken to State Attorney Ehrenberg about that myself.
I have a suggestion for anybody who is changing their signature, and if they have a phone that has a camera, take a picture of your signature so that you can then look back on your phone to see
Great idea.
what your signature is. I have a question. Sure. Will we ever have same-day registration?
That will be up to the legislature.
What is that?
Right now, you have to register, the question was, will we have same-day registration?
Oh,
Right
same.
now, it's going to be 29 days in advance. I haven't heard either from either party that they were making a serious push or believe that that was going to be anything that happened anytime soon. Yes, ma'am?
In the past, on the vote by mail ballots, when you put by your signature, there was a box to check that I want to continue voting by mail. Will that still be on the ballot?
It sure will.
Great,
It'll be
thank
on
you.
your envelope, and we encourage you to do that. Every time you do that, it just keeps it going that much longer. Yes, sir.
One ballot, or will it be multiple pages? Will it be multiple pages or one question?
Depends on how many candidates we have, right? How many candidates we have and how many issues we have. So we're still, people are still putting things on by petition, so we don't know yet. My guess is that it will be a multiple page ballot.
Just want to mention that for those who have visual, if you don't have anybody with a visual disability, we're going to be demonstrating the ADA machines at our November 6th meeting for our low vision group. And also at the health fair November 21st, they're going to be over in that corner also demonstrating the ballots. But I do have a question. On the website, Allison, is it ADA compliant?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It is ADA compliant. Yes, sir.
If I voted by mail last year, will I be getting a new ballot this year automatically?
Only if it's good for 2 years. So if you voted by mail and you made that check, if you check the check box, then it will be. There's a couple ways you can find out. You can go onto our website and say, am I still currently registered? You can also give our office a call, and we'll be sending something out, Allison, December probably?
Probably December.
Probably in December. We are going to, because this is such a big election and we want to people, if your registration or your vote by mail registration expired in December of last year, we're going to send you something that says it's expired. If you want to renew it, go ahead and get it out. So we'll just send you a quick postcard because we want to make sure that people aren't sitting around expecting it to show up.
Okay, thank you.
Last year, or a few years ago, you had judges to vote for. But you didn't have the incumbents listed. Is there any way that the incumbents can be identified?
That's a statutory requirement, and so it's consistent throughout the state, and I don't believe they allow that. So it's not a decision that we get to make at the local office. We have to, but there's very, very specific ballot rules that we have to follow. Right here and then to you, okay?
The amendment's going to be in August?
We will have amendments I think we'll have them in March and in August.
Oh.
I think so. It depends on when everybody qualifies for them, but I think I think that's what it's looking like. Yes, sir.
Is there any possibility in the future for to consider having half-day sessions for poll workers?
It's a really good question, and it isn't currently done throughout the state in most places, and the reason is when somebody says they're going to only work till 1 o'clock, somebody else is supposed to be there at 12:30 to relieve them or whatever it is, and they don't show up, then you either put the early poll worker in a position that they now have to walk out, or they're stuck there and they didn't want to do that. And so where they have tried it, it's been a bit of a disaster. So I think unless we could come up with something else, I don't think it's prohibited, And I'd have to double check that, but so far it hasn't been looked at as a good practice. Right, for if you're early voting, because we have so many, we have enough people to cover. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for having those manned drop boxes at the early voting locations for vote by mail, because in my canvassing the community, a lot of people are really happy to have the stamp, or in this case the postage, and mail it in and check online, but other people were a little tentative, and now by having this, you have the benefit in vote by mail of reading everything in advance, filling it out, but then going to early voting and having the confidence to put it right in the box. And that's something I heard a lot of here, and I wanted to thank you for that improvement.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad you like it. You can also drop it if you're close to an early voting site. That's great. You can also drop it at any one of our 4 offices as well. Lourdes will take good care of it if you drop it off down there.
I just have a quick question. I was a poll worker last year. When will the future poll workers be notified about trainings?
So we're right now doing you should have been notified about the orientation. Have you received?
No.
Okay, if you haven't, let's make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The orientation would be if she's never been. So, yeah, the orientation, it's okay, they weren't notified just because you've already been a poll worker. So the training will start soon. So, but if you can give us your info.
We are starting to send the emails out now that says you've been a poll worker in the past. Do you want to be a poll worker again?
I think I got that.
You did get that? Okay, so if you got that, then you know you're in our system. And whatever you respond, if you responded yes, then we'll start those trainings not before January. So we'll start doing them then. Is that it? All right. Thank you very much for having us here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wendy. And as far as early voting, Bonnie and the club will set something up here in the clubhouse, which, as we did last year, closer to the election, you'll find out about it. Thank you. Bonnie. Okay, make sure you come up here so we know how to vote.
You get home, if you find a notification to please attend this meeting, kindly remove it because the meeting is over.
All right, just one more thing. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 19th. That's a Tuesday. You'll get an email. You'll see it in the Kabrula. Our speaker is Carrie Howard. She is a public defender. We're going to do some chatting about criminal justice. So it's Tuesday, November 19th. Watch your step.
Get a shot at a banner.